Paris Hilton is a new breed of celebrity, famous for being famous.
She is the great-granddaughter of the hotel magnate Conrad Hilton.
A woman all you young ones can look up to.
I don't get it. What does she do? She's super rich.
She's this not too bright. It's not too bright, yeah. What is Walmart?
Paris Hilton is known as the rich heiress to the Hilton hotel fortune, and she dominated the tabloids in the 2000s for posing in spicy outfits and turning it up at red carpet events. That might seem like a normal career today, but at the time, Paris was a pioneer in the field of professional influencing, segueing her talent for getting attention into a hit reality show where she got paid millions to suck at minimum wage jobs and look like a clueless idiot.
Before the old Hollywood, you had to be famous in movies and music. Today, the rules of the game have changed.
Whoever is in the news at that moment, they become hot.
Whether they're a celebrity for an acting, just famous.
Doesn't matter.
Everything I am is because of Paris. She paved the way for me.
You represent the American dream. You step out, wherever you go, you've got paparazzi, you've got press following you.
The only thing more important than being rich is being famous.
A girl like me who's literally famous for nothing, like Paris Hilton, taught us how to make that a business.
But Paris's entrepreneurial skills didn't come out of thin air because she was part of a long lineage of savage go-getters. And in this video, we're going way back up the Hilton family tree to expose some dirty alleged secrets. I'm talking mafia crimes, vengeful affairs, inheritance wars, plus a nightmare stage mom willing to do whatever it took for her daughters to land a rich husband and make it big in Hollywood.
The biggest story of all that everyone's talking about.
Today was the first day that you could buy the DVD called One Night in Paris. Her ex-boyfriend began mass marketing the color video today.
All of this without her consent.
I trusted the wrong person, and that's something I'll regret for the rest of my life.
But even though Paris insists she was a victim of a slimy ex-boyfriend, there are folks who still think she was the mastermind behind the tape, especially considering that its release conveniently aligned with the premiere of her first big TV show.
Don't you think that's interesting timing?
There's no such thing as accidents.
You actually knew what Walmart was.
Yes, I know exactly what Walmart is.
Oh snap, get your mugs out, cause we about to guzzle, y'all. Hey y'all, it's Mary and welcome to Guzzle. This episode is brought to you thanks to the generous support of viewers who've joined my Patreon. If you're able to give a small monthly contribution, that goes a long way in supporting these investigations into scammers and schemers so that we can help expose them and help people avoid financial harm. You also get first access to behind-the-scenes channel news, and you can help me decide video topics, thumbnails, and merch designs, not to mention at the top level you get an exclusive Thirsty Stan mug. And on that note, I want to give a very special shout out to my Thirsty Stans, Nick and Randy. Your support means everything to me. I appreciate y'all so much. Paris Hilton inherited her last name from a family known for its global hospitality brand. Yes, I'm talking about that Hilton, the chain of full-service hotels and resorts that's across 6 continents.
The Hiltons own hotels all over the world, right?
Yes, they're New York, London, Paris.
Oh, wait, so there actually is a Paris Hilton?
Yes, there is.
Is the Paris Hilton roomy?
It might be for you, but most people find it very comfortable.
Hotels are not the only legacy the Hiltons have created, though, because this family also has a long and storied history of gold diggers, fame seekers, and savage schemers. And to show you what I mean, we need to take a look at the family tree of the hot mess Hiltons. Let's start with the accomplished patriarch of the family, Paris's great-grandfather on her dad's side, Conrad Hilton, who was the founder of the family's epic hotel empire. After Conrad struck it rich in the hospitality business, he did what wealthy people do and started hanging out with other high rollers in exclusive star-studded venues where he was known to be a playboy who attracted pretty ladies. Conrad even married a very famous actress at the time named Zsa Zsa Gabor after they met at an LA nightclub on the Sunset Strip that was known to be a hotspot for people with money and people who wanted it. It was a supper club called Ciro's, which you're already familiar with if you watched my episode on Marilyn Monroe earlier in this series. Conrad and Zsa Zsa's love story blossomed after their wedding when he got her pregnant with their first child, which she said happened after he assaulted her. Then his romantic gestures continued into their marriage because he allegedly took her on dates to a Long Island brothel where she waited while he slept with other women. But if you're feeling bad for Zsa Zsa and the way that Conrad treated her, don't worry too much because she got her revenge by sleeping with his teenage son and her stepson throughout the couple's marriage. So y'all, there's already a whole lot of messiness going on here, but we're just getting started. Let's move one branch down in the Hilton family tree to Conrad's son, Baron Hilton, who was Paris's grandfather. Once Baron got the reins of the Hilton hotel empire, he expanded it into an industry known for its upstanding morals and contributions to society, the casino business. He did this by buying the Flamingo Hotel on the Las Vegas Strip, which was a luxury property originally developed by Billy Wilkerson, who you also might remember from my Maryland video. Anyway, Baron Hilton's foray into the casino arena caused the Hilton Hotel brand to become the first company listed on the New York Stock Exchange to enter the gambling market in the United States, which uncorked a flood of competitors to enter this predatory industry. Baron also flexed his moral compass when he sued his father Conrad's estate after his dad left the vast majority of his multi-million-dollar riches to his foundation, which was to use the funds for charity only. Conrad had told the board of his foundation in his will that charity is a supreme virtue and the great channel through which the mercy of God is passed on to mankind. But his son Baron disagreed and thought that he should get more money, so he sued his father Conrad's estate back in the 1980s so he could get a bigger chunk of the family fortune. So that's a quick rundown of the kind of family values that Paris Hilton was exposed to on her dad's side, but the situation is just as sketchy on her mom's side. Next, let's turn to Paris's grandmother, who was known in the fam as Big Kathy. Big Kathy was reportedly a status-seeking savage who would stop at nothing to get rich, even if it meant using sex or her daughters along the way. While Big Kathy was with her first husband, she started having an affair with her second husband, who was also married at the time, but Big Kathy took care of that situation when she allegedly drugged the other woman, followed her out to her vehicle, and slammed her ankle in the car door. After that impressive conquest to snag hubby number 2, Big Kathy unfortunately did not find her happily ever after because family insiders say she tried to push her second husband down a staircase, and she once served his daughter a cheeseburger with a screw in it, not to mention the time she offered her mother-in-law dog food to eat. But let's move on to Big Kathy's marriage with husband number 3, Jack Catane, who was a bona fide gangster with the mafia and who was convicted by the feds for a giant counterfeiting operation and was also under investigation for money laundering and extortion. Despite Jack's criminal activities, Big Kathy didn't seem to be bothered as long as her mobster husband was raking in enough coins to buy her jewelry, a Rolls Royce, and an 8,000 square foot home. The downside to having a mafia husband, though, was she was going to have a hard time hanging on to all her prized possessions after she and Jack finally split because, as you would expect, Jack told her if she ever tried to come after him for alimony, he'd take care of her, and I don't mean financially. But anyway, by this point you can see that Paris's grandmother, Big Kathy, was a woman with terrifying gumption, squarely aimed at securing her bag, and this was a quality she was determined to instill in her 3 daughters. This brings us to Paris's mom, Little Kathy, and her 2 half-sisters, Kim and Kyle Richards. From a disturbingly young age, this trio of sisters was shoved into show business and groomed to impress husbands who made millions. All 3 of these girls were in the entertainment business as kids, and all 3 scored roles in big-time productions. Here's Paris's mom, Little Kathy, early in her career, posing as a young girl in a photo shoot, so inappropriately revealing that I'm scared to even show it to you here on YouTube. Here's Little Kathy in a later gig, making a cameo on the hit show Bewitched. Here's Paris's aunt, Kim Richards, acting in a leading role for a popular Disney movie, and here she is guest starring on the popular series Different Strokes. And here's Paris's other aunt, Kyle, acting alongside Jamie Lee Curtis in the cult slasher film Halloween. And so you can see that all of these sisters had lured the shine of the spotlight their way long before they ever appeared on the dumpster fire that is The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So, how did all three of these siblings end up making it so big in the entertainment business? Well, their mother, Big Kathy, was reportedly a nightmare stage mom who dictated her daughter's every move in the entertainment industry to make sure that they achieved her definition of success. And when one of these sisters scored a role and brought home a hefty paycheck from an acting gig, Big Kathy allegedly spent it ASAP on her lavish lifestyle. But Big Kathy wasn't just depending on her daughter's movie jobs to pay the bills. Look, she knew how to diversify her income streams because family insiders claim that she trained her daughters in the art of scoring a wealthy man, an education that took place not in a classroom, but in a sketchy van. See, Big Kathy allegedly said she wanted her daughter, Little Kathy, Paris's mom, to know how to perform sex in the best way possible, and so she recruited a young man to teach Little Kathy that in his vehicle. Paris's Aunt Kyle also created a show called American Woman that was based on her and her sister's childhood growing up under the critical eye of their mom, Big Kathy, and in the show, the character based on her mom fully embraces the era of sexual liberation that was ushered in by the 70s, and she even attends a swingers party. And Kyle has also shared on The Real Housewives show that when she was only 10 years old, her mom, Big Kathy, brought her and her sisters to the exclusive New York disco club Studio 54, which was known for its rampant drug use and open sexual activities, so it was a perfect destination for a family-friendly outing. But look, don't let me be critical, because Big Kathy obviously knew what she was doing with her daughters when she designed this packed curriculum of field trips to parked vehicles and dance clubs that I'd hate to see under a black light, because if Big Kathy's goal was to wed her daughters off to men who made bank, then Paris's mom, Little Kathy, scored top grades when she married an heir to a hotel fortune named Rick Hilton. Unsurprisingly, Little Kathy reportedly met Rick at a party when she was only 15, but that didn't matter because it still gave her mom bragging rights, and Big Kathy allegedly once flexed that her daughters were married to men who have a total net worth of $13 billion. Once Paris's mom, Little Kathy, locked rich Rick Hilton down, she wasted no time cashing in on the perks of her new high-status role. At least that's according to family insiders and hotel employees that an author named Jerry Oppenheimer says he spoke with for his tell-all book on the Hilton family, which, of course, they did not authorize. Anyway, Jerry writes, as newlyweds, Kathy and Rick enjoyed pushing their weight around at various Hilton hotels across the country. He says they were prone to show up out of the blue without reservations at a Hilton hotel on a busy weekend and then demand the best suite in the house and expensive complimentary food. Kathy and Rick also brought their dogs, which were not allowed in the hotel, but if any of the employees tried to actually do their jobs and enforce the rules, Kathy reportedly would not hesitate to name drop and say, "Do you know who we are? Do you know who I am?" Jerry reports that one time Rick and Kathy left their dogs alone in a suite for 3 days without walking them, and of course the dogs went to the bathroom all over the place in the meantime, and that left the staff to deep clean this giant mess, and a hotel manager said the couple never even said thank you, saying that's where their mindset is. They act like the imperial court. A family personal assistant agreed with this, saying that Paris's mom, Kathy, was absolutely pushy, arrogant, condescending, and presumptuous, and Paris picked that up from her. As children, Paris and her sister reportedly ran wild through the Hilton hotels while their absent parents partied it up until the girls were deemed old enough to tag along, and Little Kathy painted Paris's face with makeup and started booking her for modeling gigs. Here's Little Kathy and Paris strutting their stuff at a mother-daughter fashion show, and this early experience on the runway helped prepare Paris to strike a pose whenever she was in front of the camera, especially at the high society exclusive social events that she would attend with her mom and sister, where she'd serve up the perfect pouts and coy little smirks that made her a favorite feature in the New York gossip pages.
So you kind of enjoy wearing the nice clothes and getting photographed?
Yeah, of course.
Yeah.
It's fun.
But Paris and her sister Nikki's outfits were not the only reason they were getting attention, because their bad behavior also got them press coverage. After one of their liquor-fueled rampages at the Sundance Film Festival, Page Six declared, "Note to Kathy Hilton, your teenage daughters are out of control." Harris and Nikki Hilton had been tearing through Sundance, drinking their way across Park City, leaving a trail of trash in their wake. On Saturday night, scantily clad Paris, who was 19, downed water glasses full of vodka before ransacking a room at the Hugo Boss house and stealing a guest's makeup. Later, Paris, dressed in a leopard print tuxedo with nothing underneath, danced on a metal coffee table before losing her balance and falling to the floor. On Wednesday, at another fashion event, the sisters sparked a free-for-all as, according to one witness, they piggishly stuffed bags full of clothing, even going so far as to remove samples intended for display. The clothes were meant for cash-strapped actors. In 1999, The New Yorker did an article on the Hilton sisters, calling them the littlest socialites in town, even though they were still only teenagers. The next year, Vanity Fair featured them, calling Paris an example of a hip-hop debutante. The New York Post wrote, "She is, without a doubt, a parent's worst nightmare." Well, unless, of course, you are Paris's parents, Kathy and Rick Hilton. But y'all look, Paris was much more than a partying socialite, because at the age of 19, she signed with a modeling agency run by one of her family's close friends, the former president himself, Donald Trump.
I've known him since I'm a little girl. He's a very nice man.
I've known Paris Hilton from the time she's 12. Her parents are friends of mine, and the first time I saw her, she walked into the room and said, "Who the hell is that?"
On TV, people like to say things about certain people, but he's actually a very sweet person. I like him a lot.
Honestly, Paris gets knocked and this and that, but she's very beautiful. Is she dumb? Flawless. She's dumb like a fox.
Trump is actually giving Paris a compliment here, because dumb like a fox means sly and cunning while deliberately giving the misleading impression of being stupid or foolish. And as you're gonna see, that definition is spot on. Anyway, the Hilton and Trump families go way back because, after all, they have a lot in common. Both families run global real estate franchises. Both are very into beauty and fashion, and both have ventured into the world of reality TV. In fact, here's the Hilton family presenting Donald Trump a cake, congratulating him on his show The Apprentice. Trump's daughter Ivanka was also modeling like Paris, gracing the catwalk from a young age and posing for major magazine covers.
I don't need to model. My family has money and they can support me, but I model because I love to model. This is my last outfit, which is absolutely gorgeous.
And Ivanka continued to model as she grew up, appearing in photo shoots that put her girls fully on display. And why not? I mean, we all know her daddy Donnie is clearly a guy who is cool with young ladies showing skin. For example, here he is back in the day, judging a modeling contest with teenage girls who were allegedly asked to compete by dancing for men who were old enough to be their grandfathers. Here's good old Donnie cheesing it up with Hugh Hefner from the Playboy Mansion, a mansion where Trump had attended parties with his daughter Ivanka, and as if that isn't weird enough already, the two of them are actually pictured here with a playmate who allegedly had a 10-month affair with Donald while he was married. Here's another shot of Trump partying with Jeffrey Epstein, a man who was charged with the sex trafficking of minors and whose little black book of contacts included no less than 14 phone numbers connected to Donald. Let's jump to another event at the Playboy Mansion that Trump and Ivanka attended, this time celebrating Hugh Hefner's turning 80 years old. And oh, look who's here. Paris Hilton, front and center on stage, singing Happy Birthday to Hef in the style of one of her heroes, Miss Marilyn Monroe. And look, y'all, this certainly was not the only time that Paris partied at Playboy. She was a regular at the mansion and a cozy companion of Hef's. Paris loved to show up for wild nights with her bejeweled belly button out and about, a fierce cat eye and a flirty hand shortening her skirt, or a band-aided nipple hidden behind hundreds of flashy crystals. Yes, Paris was fully honoring her family's legacy of celebrating sexuality, shamelessly flaunting her figure to the delight of photographers who were just as captivated by her sex appeal as they were by what an oxymoron she was. I mean, here we had this elite heiress, descended from the supposedly prestigious family pedigree, a young lady you might expect to be equipped with impeccable manners, taught at the finest charm schools money could buy. But instead, she seemed to spend every night out, turning it up at events, dancing in skimpy outfits, smoking cigarettes, drinking straight from the bottle, and just looking like a genuine hot mess. And I'm sure some people think that should have lost her the respect and attention of the mainstream media, but let's be real. Ain't nobody looking at the wallflower in the corner of the room at the party. It's that train wreck who's crawling in the middle of the dance floor that we can't turn our eyes away from. And it was this reputation of glamorized rebellion and secondhand embarrassment that Paris Hilton became known for. She had jealous stans who aspired to party at her level. She had plenty of haters who thought she was acting disgraceful. But no matter which camp you were in, you saw Paris Hilton's name in the headlines, and you heard everybody around you debating whether it deserved to be there.
Our next guests are perennial fixtures in the society pages and the must-have guests at any top-tier gathering. Please welcome the lovely Paris and Nikki Hilton.
Hi, ladies. Hi, Nikki and Paris.
Partying.
Elsa, I just finished 7th grade.
Paris Hilton is a new breed of celebrity, famous for being famous.
She is the great-granddaughter of the hotel magnate Conrad Hilton, the model and the gossip column favorite.
Walk us through your childhood, because I'm fascinated with this. How was it atypical did you go to private school and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah? Did you?
The next guest is one of the most recognizable celebrities in the world, Paris Hilton.
A woman all you young ones can look up to, Miss Paris Hilton.
You know, the socialite who made a career out of being a dumb blonde.
I'd like to meet a little friend of mine named Tinkerbell. She's 2 years old, and just like me, she's really into fashion. I'm gonna dress you up like a bunny, and then I'm gonna dress you up like a little princess.
You said this in interviews and in your book, you never wear the same outfit twice. Is that true?
Well, I'll wear like the same jeans twice, but not like the same dress.
I don't get it. What does she do? She's super rich. But what does she do? She's totally spoiled and snobby.
She's this not too bright. Not too bright, yeah.
But making a lot of money. She's sweet when you talk to her.
Is she sweet?
Yeah.
A lot of stupid people are.
But is she?
If people thought Paris was stupid and entitled, though, that was only going to help her for her next big role, because in 2003, she debuted as the star of a new Fox reality TV series called The Simple Life. The show featured Paris and her BFF Nicole Richie, whose father was the famous singer Lionel Richie and who had also grown up in the lap of Los Angeles luxury, and cameras followed this privileged pair all the way to rural Arkansas, where they struggled to do manual jobs that regular old Americans got paid minimum wage for, while Paris and Nicole got paid millions by producers to act totally obnoxious in ways that would get anybody else fired immediately.
You ever clocked in anywhere before?
No.
Have you ever had a real job?
No.
Here they are showing up 45 minutes late to work at the fast food joint Sonic before suiting up in giant slush costumes and flipping off the public driving by, writing a penis joke with the letters on the specials sign, and cussing at customers as they work the checkout in the drive-thru line.
Okay, it's 2:37. Thank you. Have a great day. Thanks, bitch. Have a great day. This is fun.
And Paris wasn't the only one having a good time, because as much as the TV critics wanted to hate the show, a lot of them had to confess that the series had an irresistible charm. The Simple Life is an incredibly vapid show, but there's no denying that Paris Hilton and Nicole Richie are downright entertaining. Paris and Nicole are dumb as dirt. That's what makes Simple Life a hoot. The beauty of the casting is that the two young women do not have to strain very hard to fit their assigned roles. Perhaps that's because Paris and Nicole are so willfully snotty, utterly uncomprehending that anyone could survive without a trust fund, much less on a farm. What could have been a mean-spirited attack on homespun values turns out to be a lighthearted mockery of the rich. What red-blooded average American with a mortgage could complain about that? Paris and Nicole's unapologetic cluelessness about what it took to survive in the real world was what made The Simple Life so funny, and the show attracted viewers by the masses and won top ratings for the Fox network. CNN reported Paris Hilton beats Bush in TV ratings. He may have beaten Saddam Hussein, but President Bush got clobbered by slinky socialite Paris Hilton when her television show got higher ratings than Bush's exclusive ABC interview last Tuesday night. The show also gave Paris Hilton fame beyond just the tabloid gossip pages and made her a household name. Everybody had an opinion on Paris Hilton and her pampered persona, and she was even a popular Halloween costume. And so suddenly all this attention had come Paris's way thanks to the huge popularity of The Simple Life. Or was it that simple? Because the quirky comedy of this little reality show was not the only reason people tuned in to see Paris on screen. There was another big attraction that made viewers very curious to watch, and this is where we need to circle back to our sleazy strategic partner from the last episode, that shameless Hollywood hype man, Mr. Shiraz Hassan.
Now, Paris's beach house invasion. New Hollywood.tv video of the heiress looking sexy in a camouflage bathing suit as the paparazzi descends on her Malibu beach house this weekend, looking for that perfect shot.
That's footage of Paris Hilton, shot by Hollywood.tv, the paparazzi agency owned by the lowdown schemer from my last video, Shiraz Hassan. If you watch that episode, then you know that Shiraz made a living by paying a team of videographers to stalk Britney Spears 24/7, and then he would sell the footage that they shot to celebrity news networks who would entertain the masses by dragging Britney and twisting her personal life into a soap opera. All of that, of course, led to Britney having a mental breakdown, as anyone would have in that situation, which is the precise moment that Shiraz swooped in like the vulture that he is and scored his biggest payday yet after one of his paps literally chased Britney's ambulance to the hospital. But that was not Shiraz Hassan's only shady professional triumph, because he also whipped up a side business under Hollywood.tv where he conspired with the celebrities he followed to help win the media exposure. Shiraz specialized in working with the thirstiest fame seekers. I'm talking dehydrated folks who were looking for a lazier way to get the world's attention than by working all those hours to hone an actual skill like singing or acting. Nah, Shiraz seemed to prefer clientele whose schedules were not filled up by all those auditions and rehearsals, but who instead had plenty of free time to shower his paparazzi with shameless, sensational moments that they all knew would secure them screen time. And y'all know by now that made Paris Hilton the perfect partner for Shiraz, and so when these two teamed up in the early 2000s to help raise her celebrity profile, their clout-chasing chemistry proved wildly successful.
Today, I'm standing here in Paris Hilton's Malibu mansion, exclusively for Hollywood.tv. Thanks for having us here, Paris.
Shiraz has said his job was to keep his clients in the news 24/7, all the time, every single day.
Breaking news. I can tell you right now, that's my why. That's my X factor. I'm going to take that content and I'm going to get it out to the world.
I mastered the technique of breaking news because media is expensive. You know, if you're an artist or you're trying to become famous, it's a very expensive game. So I had to get free media.
Shiraz said he created calendars for clients, detailing which hotspots to visit and when to visit them, because if they wanted to be on the public's mind, they needed to be constantly seen. And Paris was constantly seen.
I had over 100 guys in Los Angeles, all of them making a living of Paris Hilton.
If Paris breaks a nail, you'll be there. If Paris gets food in a drive-thru, you'll know about it. If Paris runs daily errands, you'll see it.
And everywhere you go, everything's methodic. You're not leaving your house wearing a baseball cap. You're gonna get all
dressed to the nine.
We made sure that we understood what the news channels want. I was able to understand if you were to attend an event, how to create breaking news. If you go to a specific function, how to stand out.
And it worked. Paris Hilton got so much media coverage that Forbes crowned her the most overexposed celebrity, twice. It felt like you couldn't escape Paris Hilton, even if you wanted to, because she was always monopolizing the headlines for doing tasks that everybody else managed to tackle without a camera crew following them. But Shiraz said that was the point. The public wanted to see celebrities doing normal things.
People want to see stars real, reality television, but on celebrities, really raw. And that's what the demand is.
What do you think it is about you, Paris, that everybody follows you around? Why do photographers, paparazzi? Why you?
I have no idea. I just am living my life.
I mean, you don't call them up and say, I'm going down to 3rd Street tomorrow, be there.
No, actually, from the moment I wake up to the moment I go to sleep, they're outside my house following me all day long.
Now, tell me about this deal brokering. I am fascinated by this. Who makes the call?
I mean, it varies. Sometimes we get calls from the managers, publicists, different locations. Sometimes the star themselves.
You know the paparazzi. It's part of the machine.
Here's Shiraz Hassan, featured by ABC News, revealing that starlets of the early 2000s were meticulously created.
We didn't follow the rules. We made them.
Why are people so fascinated with you?
People always ask me that, and I don't know. I'm just living my life.
But much like the Instagram influencers today who post, quote, candid photos that seem so #relatable, Harris's supposedly unplanned encounters with those pesky paparazzi seemed extremely welcomed when you take a closer look. For example, here she is dancing in a parked car outside a nightclub while paparazzi surround her vehicle and a mob of old dudes films her through a window for such an awkwardly long time that I feel overcome with secondhand embarrassment just watching this scene. And I gotta say, this whole situation feels uncomfortably staged. It does not feel normal, it does not feel authentic, but y'all, we all know that authenticity doesn't matter when you're selling the fantasy of wealth porn. The public will eat up any morsel of so-called news just to learn how the rich and famous live, to get a glimpse at how a real-life hotel heiress parties, and to find out that even celebrities feed coins into parking meters because we want to see that stars are just like us.
All the things that people are doing today with social media, the first person was Paris Hilton.
We in the media have become parasites.
Paris Hilton created the pop culture. She was the icon. She was the Marilyn Monroe.
The only difference being that Marilyn Monroe could actually sing, dance, and act, while Paris taught us the skill of posing like a princess at red carpet events.
Act like you're wearing an invisible crown. You want to pose, slenderize your hips.
Can we just have your best red carpet face? Go on.
Okay, well, I learned from Paris Hilton, my BFF. And it's this kind of a stance like this, and then it's chin down, and it's... Oh, that's fine.
I see a lot of them, there's a back thing like that going on.
That's the over the shoulder. They like that. I don't know why. They always tell me to do it.
I don't know why either.
Paris constructed a celebrity from scratch, using only the raw clay of her wealth and indiscretion. Though she had done little more than go to nightclubs, her name has appeared in more than 90 New York Post articles this year alone.
This is how it works. It's very simple.
Yeah.
Whoever is in the news at that moment, they become hot.
Whether they're a
And it changes
celebrity
by-
for
doesn't matter.
acting, just famous.
Doesn't matter.
Scandal.
DUI, drunk and fallen over, a fight.
Before the old Hollywood, you had to be famous in movies and music and all those things. Today, the rules of the game have changed.
A writer for The Guardian said Hilton's stock as a celebrity continues to rise despite her lack of any discernible talent other than the ability to court the attention of the paparazzi. It wasn't a career, but Paris Hilton had achieved a moderate level of notoriety. The notoriety, in turn, had a career-like effect.
You represent the American dream. You step out, wherever you go, you've got paparazzi, you've got press following you, the world press.
Why do you want to be like Paris Hilton? The only thing more important than being rich is being famous.
Am I famous? Do people know my face?
It means cameras, lights, action, paparazzi, screaming. That's the definition of the word fame.
Everybody wants fame. It's such a lethal, powerful drug. Once you get that hit of fame, you're gonna want more.
It's this philosophy that explains why Shiraz says he's the biggest fame dealer in the world, and as the boss of a major paparazzi agency, he was a powerful gatekeeper for the press who knew exactly how to serve them up stories they'd pay top dollar for. Shiraz had access to that valuable supply of media coverage that celebrities fiended for, and when those stars were craving a hit of attention, he knew the age-old formula to make it happen: stir up drama. Shiraz has said, when there's drama and when there's controversy, there are viewers. When there are viewers, there are advertisers. And when there are advertisers, there's cash. And he said the trick to making that happen is to always create drama. And y'all, nobody had mastered the art of creating drama quite like his star client Paris Hilton. It didn't matter how seemingly trivial the drama was, Paris somehow managed to make it front-page news. Here's the New York Post reporting on a poll about terrorist attacks and religious discrimination, but who cares about all that foolishness because, oh my god, the top story of the day is that Paris Hilton is carrying the Holy Bible. Oh, and look at this. Here's Paris looking very cozy with Britney Spears' ex-husband Kevin Federline while delivering a smirk so mischievous I'll bet she knew it would guarantee her a full-page feature in a magazine. And here's an article about how one of Paris's exotic pets named Baby Love bit her, telling us she had to go to the emergency room, not for surgery, not for a serious wound, not even for stitches, but for a tetanus shot. An event so momentous that her publicist felt compelled to update us on her condition, saying Paris's arm wasn't swollen the next day, and she even felt well enough to continue promotions for her debut album Paris, which is set for release on August 22nd. One writer noted that there was no word yet on what shots the animal received. But y'all, Paris was not just serving up frivolous fake drama to the press to get their attention. No, she was also gifting them plot lines involving much more serious real-life issues and racking up an extensive criminal rap sheet in the process. In September 2006, Paris Hilton was arrested by police in LA for driving under the influence of alcohol, and a couple of months later, her driver's license was suspended. Despite that, just a couple of months after that, she was stopped again, this time in her Bentley that was worth $190,000, which Paris was driving down Sunset Boulevard at night without her headlights on. It didn't take long for police to then find out that Paris was not supposed to be driving at all. But her spokesperson said this was all just a big mix-up because Paris just didn't realize that her driving privileges had been suspended.
I told the officer because I called my lawyer at that point and they said you're allowed to drive for work-related purposes, and I was at a business meeting before that. I never would have driven on a suspended license. I get followed by paparazzi all day. Why would I, have the audacity to do that?
Now I'm going to call BS on that, seeing as the very next month, Paris was caught driving again, even though her license had been suspended. And by this point, the court had made it crystal clear she was not supposed to be behind the wheel. But again, she was driving at night without her headlights on, and this time she was going 70 miles per hour in a 35 mile per hour zone. So what was that about audacity, girl? Now, after all of these incidents, the court was not about to buy any more of her excuses, and the next time Paris stepped in front of a judge, he sentenced her to 45 days in jail. After he does, Paris screams, "It's not right," and starts crying and looking back at her parents and yelling for her mommy. But despite her tearful outburst, the jail sentence was in fact correct, and Paris was hauled off by sheriff's deputies.
I'm standing here with a very big surprise tonight. I mean, I heard you coming with all the paparazzi shouting your name. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing okay. I'm obviously a little scared right now.
Paris Hilton is trying to be strong, but appearing at the MTV Movie Awards just one day before starting her prison term, she wasn't getting any help from comedian Sarah Silverman.
Paris Hilton is going to jail. That to make her feel more comfortable in prison, the guards are gonna paint the bars to look like penises. I just worry that she's gonna break her teeth on those things.
It's reported the 26-year-old hotel heiress has begun her 23-day jail sentence in a Los Angeles correction facility.
They want Paris Hilton out, didn't they? She thought she gonna get away. I'm a Hilton! I'm the white lady, I have blonde hair. No, I never go to jail. They said, when you finish raving and ranting, you got 22 days to do, God.
Paris Hilton went to jail. I hope an inmate kicked her tail. She thinks she doesn't have to follow the rules. She thinks we want to see her butt crack and her but we don't, Paris.
Now, obviously, tough times ahead for you, but you're here at the Movie Awards. Is there a reason why you came out here tonight?
It's fun, and I wanted to do something nice before I went off, so... Yeah.
How about those who, they get a little, shocked when you're going to jail and they see you at the MTV Awards walking the red carpet? Doesn't that look like a contradiction?
Actually, I was playing a trick on everyone. Because outside my house, outside the Linwood facility, there was paparazzi I heard from all around the world. So I thought if I went to the MTV Awards, snuck out during the show, I could get there unnoticed, and that's what we did. No one even saw me going in.
How'd you like being in jail?
That's how you start.
Not too much. What do you think? Do you think you did wrong?
Well, this all started off with the DUI, which was a .08. Granted, it was, one drink, but no one should do it. Yeah, it was really, really hard, but I don't feel like I deserve to go to jail for it.
You never felt you were a criminal?
No.
It's just bizarre when you think about it, isn't it? That this was part of your life, that this actually happened to you, that you were in prison, for God's sakes?
I can't believe it either, but it's made me a stronger person,
Yeah.
so.
The purpose of jail is to teach a lesson.
Yes.
Well, at least that's a big part of it. Did it work with you?
Yeah, definitely. I have a new outlook on life. Me, by doing my sentence and doing my time, I have served as a good example, and I want to continue to do so.
Even though you had no other choice but to serve your jail time, your attorneys had fought it every step of the way, and you yelled out, "It's not right," after the judge announced your sentence.
But I've moved on with my life, so I don't really want to talk about it anymore.
I know. I would just say that a person in your position could serve now as, I think, an exemplary role model for youngsters, and they see now what has happened to you, and it might occur to them, my gosh, if it happens to someone, wealthy and famous and powerful, it might happen to me, so I better straighten my life out.
Exactly.
Yeah, this could be your legacy. This as a contribution to the young people of this country.
I just felt like this is a new beginning for me, just being in jail, and I just used it as a journey to figure out myself and who I am and what I want to do, and there's just so much more to me than what people think.
Love you too.
There. Somebody you met in prison?
Now, even though Paris was so busy grandstanding on all of these late-night talk shows about what a reformed person she had become, this would definitely not be the last time she'd get in trouble with the law, because a few years later, in 2010, Paris was arrested again, this time in Las Vegas for drugs. She was riding with her boyfriend in his Escalade when a cop got smacked in the face by the smell of marijuana coming from their vehicle, so Paris and her man were stopped by the cops, and as they were talking with police, she grabbed a tube of lip balm from her purse and accidentally pulled out a bag of cocaine at the same time, all in plain view of law enforcement.
Oh my God, watch her get arrested.
And you might be thinking, well, there's no getting out of that situation, but Harris tells the cops she was innocent and says this purse that she was holding wasn't even hers.
When Lindsay Lohan said they weren't her pants that she was wearing with cocaine stuffed in them, I thought I had heard it all. But now Paris Hilton says, yes, the money and the credit cards and everything else in the pocketbook's hers, except the cocaine. And it's not her pocketbook. Please.
Later, the gossip sites jump all over this story, and suddenly, an anonymous source is quoted everywhere saying the purse with the drugs could not have been Paris's because the bag was a lowly consumer brand that you could find in any old store, and it wasn't up to Paris's high fashion standards. And I gotta say, if this source was somebody on Paris's publicity team, then touche. Y'all deserve props for spinning a criminal drug charge into an opportunity to market Paris's brand as a wealthy heiress. And also, I gotta give you credit for amping up the suspense in this arrest story, because the source is also quoted as saying, this is a terrifying situation for Paris. She's scared stiff about what might happen. The idea of going back to prison sends a shiver down Paris's spine. A shiver down Paris's spine? Who talks like that in real life? This just sounds like a badly written soap opera script to me, but whatever the case, the source was clearly talking out of their ass, because the purse was in fact Paris's, and she later admitted that it was and had to fess up to the fact that she lied to the cops in the first place.
A frank admission from Paris Hilton. She did have cocaine in her purse and lied about it when arrested in Las Vegas on August the 28th.
I was in possession, as well as telling the officer that the bag wasn't mine, the purse.
After that admission, Paris was sentenced to 200 hours of community service, an obligation that she would later turn into content for her reality show, The World According to Paris.
Come on, you gotta wake up. We gotta go. You have community service. Come on. Suck a
Then Paris says because of a little incident in Las Vegas last year, she has to do community service, which she says, quote, really sucks balls. On the way to community service, Paris asks, am I gonna be working with like convicts and prisoner people? Which is a weird question because, girl, you got your own illustrious criminal record. But anyway, after she makes fun of the coordinator's outfit, then she stresses about getting paint on her expensive Louis Vuitton shoes.
You have to do community service in 2 hours. You are dragged out of bed by this assistant. You don't want to go. When she says you've got to do community service, you said, and I quote, it sucks. You complain that it hurts your high heels. All you're doing is painting a fence. Am I going to have to be with those prison people? I think you're an adorable girl. I really do. I don't think you have to do that. And I remember the last time we talked, you had served time in prison. And you learned a good deal, you said. And you were going to spend a lot of time helping fellow prisoners. Why not present that side of yourself, if indeed it exists?
I do it all the time, and when I'm on the show, it's supposed to be entertaining and funny, so I'll make silly little jokes. It doesn't mean I'm serious.
But Barbara wasn't the only one who was confused by Paris's show. A writer for the New York Daily News wrote, why would you do a new reality show that makes you look shallow, spoiled, and just generally unpleasant? You'd think you'd sign on for a show like this as sort of an image rehab project, to show the world you really aren't a self-indulgent rich airhead, but human and sympathetic. Maybe she is. That just isn't the takeaway. Another writer had similar questions, asking why Paris was everywhere in the media when she was so offensive and hated by Americans across the board, from college professors to tabloid junkies. And then this writer proposed a theory. She said, hating Paris Hilton is fun. Americans always enjoy a good sneer at the undeserving and decadent rich. Paris Hilton is our communal dartboard. But if Paris was a dartboard, then it was because she was willing to wear a bullseye. Instead of running from a mob that was crucifying her for being an entitled snob, she stayed front and center, volunteering herself as an easy target for humiliation. And all this brings up some important questions surrounding Paris's extraordinary fame. How much of her persona as a misbehaving, empty-headed heiress was the reality that she presented in her shows, and how much of it was concocted for entertainment value and the lucrative audiences that it attracted? And if it was all an act, why would someone purposefully want to come off as a shallow, spoiled jerk? Well, if you ask Paris's partner in crime, Shiraz Hassan, he'll tell you why. Money.
The people that can make you famous, the real people in the business, they want to look at you with a dollar sign on your head. How much money can this person make? That's the conversation that I want to have.
Everyone loves money.
But as cringe as he is, he ain't wrong. Hollywood makes its money from misbehaving villains who threaten society, whether they're written into a movie script or exposed on a celebrity gossip blog. Nothing brings audiences together like the bond of co-hating a common enemy, and this was a truth that Shiraz knew well. He said Hollywood would go bankrupt if there was no scandal, and he, of all people, knew from his experience as a paparazzi heavyweight that the stars that were surrounded by the biggest scandals would bring in the most eyeballs and the biggest paychecks. That explains why the homepage of his website reads, "The people who love you build you, but the people who hate you make you." And look, we know Paris was definitely pulling some moves that made people hate her, so was she just making careless, youthful mistakes, or was she intentionally casting herself in a bad light? For example, in the early 2000s, it was unfortunately par for the course for paparazzi to take upskirt photos of female celebrities exiting cars, which was totally disgusting and invasive, but unsurprisingly, generated lots of traffic to gossip sites from curious onlookers who couldn't help but ask themselves, if these stars knew that photographers would be taking photos of them arriving at popular nightclubs, then why wouldn't they be sure to put on underwear? Why would they keep going commando when they were showing up for big events like at Fashion Week in 2018 when Paris went pantyless in this ensemble? Or like at Paris's 33rd birthday party in 2014 where she showed up in a very revealing hot pink dress where she seems to be advertising that she ain't wearing underpants. I mean, Paris, what are you doing with your hands there while posing on the red carpet? it's just hard to imagine how this was an innocent slip-up and not a publicity stunt planned by Paris herself. And after all, she and her buddy Shiraz knew that shots like this would get her name in the headlines.
If I have to show you my butt, if I have to show you my boobs, I'm only gonna get more ratings.
I love him. We've been friends for so many years. Shiraz and I always are just coming up with so many incredible ideas. He knows how to make it happen.
Shiraz's legendary expertise came from his paparazzi roots, which had taught him that the most guaranteed way to land press coverage was indecent exposure. Exhibit A, Britney Spears flashes privates, she gets press. I mean, look, this was a proven formula that Hollywood insiders had relied on for decades. Back in the 1940s, when the actress Jane Russell showed more cleavage on screen than anybody had ever done before, in a movie conveniently titled The Outlaw, that film attracted hordes of viewers and blew up as a box office sensation. Then in the 1950s, Marilyn Monroe became the first major film starlet to pose nude in a mass-produced publication, and the scandal got so much attention in the press that it helped make Marilyn the most famous sex symbol in the world. And of course, in the 1990s, when millions watched Baywatch babe Pamela Anderson straight up have sex with her husband on a personal video that she said was stolen from her, it made her one of the most popular searches on the internet, and it even earned her an award from the so-called Oscars of porn for the best-selling adult tape of 1998. Flaunting sexuality and pushing the boundaries of decency was a tried and true framework for fame, with each generation of sexy starlets leveling up the blueprint to the next extreme. So, by the time Paris Hilton stepped onto Sunset Boulevard and set her sights on succeeding her friend Pamela Anderson as Hollywood's reigning sex goddess, she was only going to earn that crown if she raised the bar on self-exposure, or lowered it, depending on how you look at it. And some people think she did just that, because even though The Simple Life is often credited as Paris Hilton's breakout role, she actually appeared in an even more popular video before that, one that conveniently dropped right before the debut of her big Fox show.
Don't you think that's interesting timing?
There's no such thing as accidents.
The biggest story of all that everyone's talking about, the Paris Hilton sex tape.
Sex video showing Paris and her ex was released to media outlets and is circulating on the internet.
Low-quality postcard-sized movies have already made their way into the web and are moving fast, as you can see here.
Her ex-boyfriend began mass marketing the color video today.
All of this without her consent.
If that happened today, it would not be the same story at all.
Paris, you can sue me if you want. You know and I know what the truth is.
And this brings us to our next episode in the Kardashians Exposed series, where we'll be looking at the suspicious circumstances surrounding the release of that steamy footage, and where you'll meet a sleazy snake oil salesman who says he was the man responsible for marketing the tape.
Is it like a blackmail situation?
I hate when people bring up extortion. If I say, I'd be very interested in making a deal and acquiring your copyright, is that extortion?
I know the business psyche of sales, and that is to prey upon one's weakness, and I love that.
If you want to see this scumbag called out in the next episode of Kardashians Exposed, then subscribe so you can slurp up all the tea that I'm spilling here on Guzzle about shady moneymakers. And because I only drop videos about once a month, it's also a good idea to turn on those notifications so that YouTube does not forget that you still like me. And if you have not yet watched the rest of the videos in this series where I'm exposing the Kardashian family's scammy come up, then you are going to want to go back to the beginning and catch up, honey, because we are on a pilgrimage here to get to the truth, and you do not want to miss any of the puzzle pieces. So if you want to start with episode number 1, then that video is linked down in the description below. If you made it all the way to the end of this episode, then add the hashtag #EmptyMug to your comment. I appreciate y'all so much. And if you want to support me in making these investigative videos where I expose shady moneymakers, then I would be so grateful if you consider becoming a patron of this channel over at patreon.com/Guzzle. And shout out to my diehards who have already joined. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next one. Bye, y'all.